Hello everyone, myself Kumar Ujjwal, and today we are going to discuss approach for pol science, that is PSR, Political Science and International Relation, for 2022. Approach to PSIR for 2022. So pedagogy would be also different from 2021 because those who appeared in prelims, they are having limited time period. But here you have ample time, but that does not mean complacency or any kind of lack of alertness. Here this course would be meant for those who are also starting from afresh or those who have done the things earlier but they are still at a very low level. So in this, first of all, you must, our pedagogy would be that first ABCD of pol science. ABCD of pol science. So here we will be presuming that you are knowing nothing in pol science and you don't know even the root word of politics, political. So we will be in 4 or 5 classes. We will be having only discussion of elementary things like what is state, what is government, why they are, what are laws, what is the hierarchy of laws, what is power, authority, legitimacy, liberty, equality, justice, morality, what are civil society, what are rights, duties, all those things. So that is very much elementary. What is idealism, what is realism, what are the methods, because in approach, any approach, you have both subject, that is what to inquire, and the method, that is the procedure of inquiry. So how you inquire is a method, while what to inquire is a subject, and subject is defined by the UPSC. In UPSC, the difference, the syllabus of political science and international relation is defined. As you know, that there are 40 topics in totality, 10 from section A of paper 1, then 11 from section B of IGP, Indian Government and Politics, then 11 from comparative politics, and 8 in India and world. So topics are defined. So first we will be starting with the ABCD of pol science. Then our approach should be in an order which is not be the order of the syllabus, but the order of the question asked. So naturally, first is paper 1. So in paper 1, you must have first understanding of the syllabus political science. Paper 1, section A is basically political theories. Here we have to maintain the order. First, Western thinkers. We have to maintain this order because thinker is a person specific, place specific, time specific, where there is nothing going to change. So be it Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, J.S. Mill, Marx, Gramsci, Hannah Arendt, these are the mentioned political thinkers. But when we discuss Marx and go to Marxism, then Lenin will also come, Mao will also come, Rosa Luxemburg, neo-Marxist will also come. So similarly, Bentham is not mentioned, but utilitarian approach is mentioned everywhere. Rousseau is not there, but Rousseau's thought is there in social contract theory. Rousseau's popular sovereignty is there in our preamble of our constitution. So all those are things which are explicitly written. First you have to, we will be doing that in Western thinkers, and that will help a lot to begin with, because you cannot afford to start outrightly with theories or ideologies without having knowledge of Western thinkers. Then we will be going to ideology. Ideology is to be seen in 2 ways. First as group of ideas for organized political action, for mass mobilization, and second as science of ideas, which is open-minded, where there is critical thinking with suffix ism. So here we have liberalism, capitalism, socialism, fascism, Marxism, Gandhism, feminism, imperialism, nationalism. These are the ideologies. So ideology has various purposes, like one is to have organized political action, another is legitimacy, to keep the group together, group cohesiveness. So this is what ideology. Second, then in section A, we will study theories, political theories. Theories are also to be seen in two terms. First as philosophy. Philosophy is based on values, principles, desirabilities ought to be, while second as political science, based on empirical approach, based on facts, data which are verifiable, universally acceptable, observation based, observation, repetition, experimentation, demonstration. So when political philosophy we talk about, then every political philosophy is tentative, subject to change, dynamic in nature. Limitation and criticism of one political theory leads to another, and limitation of second leads to third. In such a way, we have holistic understanding of the issue as we see the same issue from different perspectives. So multiple political philosophies are multiple way of seeing the things, multiple perspectives to see the same thing from different perspective, to make our understanding multidimensional, enriched and holistic. And we have to study here theories of state, theories of sovereignty, like monistic theory of sovereignty, pluralist theory of sovereignty, then theories of liberty, equality, justice, theories of power, authority, legitimacy, democracy, all those theories that we have to study. After that, we will be coming to the behavioralism. Behavioralism is inspired from physical science and psychology to find prototype uniformity in the behavior of the political actor. So behavioralism partly inspired from psychology, partly from science, and it is the American contribution. So the first topic mentioned is approach in political science. Then only you will be understanding that traditional approach in political studies, which was followed till 1945, till Second World War, was focusing on state, focusing on formal structure and functions of the state, on institutions, on history, on philosophy, on laws. But behavioral approach, defocusing state and focusing on authoritative centers of decision making, application of science. So continued till 1969, and post behavioral approach 1969 onwards. So these are the three approaches. Everywhere in political science you will find that thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Means one set of forces or one set of ideas come in reaction to it, opposite kind of ideas come or force come, and with the interaction between thesis and antithesis, contradictions are removed and a new force emerges. That is called here in post behavioralism. So by this, behavioralism will be in this order at this place. Here we will see system model, within system model also cybernetic model, structural functional model, communication model. They are political economy, political culture, political sociology. So behavioral approach is contemporary approach in political science, because before Second World War, the center of political studies was Europe. It shifted to America after Second World War. So this is the approach, and then balance was established that political studies cannot be value free. Man's behavior cannot be prototype and robotic. So post-behavioralism came and theories got re-established, political philosophy got re-established. So this is the order. Once you do section A is the core of political science, then your ease of learning will increase. Let me tell you that in section A you study theories, and those theories to be applied in section B, Indian government and politics, in Indian context. The word Indian is there in section B. In section B of paper 1, it is Indian government and politics, and section B of paper 2, it is India and world. So those theories that you study in section A has to apply in Indian context. So here again you will have to study Indian thinkers. In Indian thinkers, first and foremost, of course, if you see time wise, then Brahminical tradition of Manu and Kautilya, then Buddhist tradition, then Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Aurobindo, Gandhi, M.N. Roy, B.R. Ambedkar, though all these thinkers will come in Indian part. So that will help in IGP, Indian government and politics. First, to understand Indian national movement, but it is not only at information level, it is similar to GS. But at analysis level, you have to see different perspective like liberal perspective, socialist perspective, Marxist perspective, Dalit perspective, feminist perspective of national movement. Moreover, to cherish and follow the ideals of freedom and struggle is a fundamental duty of every citizen. So a good administrator must be good citizen first. So it is there in GS, it is there in IGP of Pol Science and International Relation. Then Constitution. Our Constitution is a revolutionary document, an instrument of change, carefully crafted. So Constitution also has to be seen as supreme law, as polity was used by Aristotle for form of government or form of constitution. So in Constitution, principles are there mainly up to part 5, and from part 6 institutions come. And in governance, it's not only state and government, but also civil society, market, individual citizens also will come. So governance is going beyond government, that is government, civil society, market and individual citizens, all interaction, the process. Government is an institution, but governance is a process. So once we discuss process, we do discuss interaction between different components of the governance or different components of the system. It's not only state, but interaction. So in this, we not only study formal processes of politics, which is mainly legal, institutional, constitutional, but informal process of politics. When we discuss about informal processes of politics, because as you see, the same theory part you have to apply. In traditional approach, in section A, there was more focus on state and formal institution. In behavioral approach, focus towards informal processes of politics. Now the same, first you study formal thing, then informal thing, like social movement, like party system, like pressure groups, like federalism, like planned economic development. So like casteism, communalism, regionalism, those ideologies, those things of society, economy, culture, like planning and development, the relation between democracy and development. So here the impact of informal processes of hyperglobalization, postmodernism, the dynamics of the present era. So the whole pedagogy in the comprehensive class, foundation classes would be to go step by step slowly, because we presume that you are knowing nothing, you are zero, and many of you might not have academic background. So sometimes it is blessing in disguise. You will see in terms of selection also from humanities, most of the engineers and others, doctors and other professionals who have no background in it, they are scoring more. That is a empirical proof that their enthusiasm of learning is more. They are understanding the subject in this particular format. Here you are not studying PSIR for BA, MA or PhD or MPhil or likes. Now MPhil is not there, but not for that. So you are studying it for civil services only and civil services exclusively. There you need to have academic approach, you need to write thesis, you need to write too much. Here you have to write to the point, scientific presentation. And as I always emphasize, that our job is to simplify the things, to make the things graspable, retainable, producible, and to visualize the things, to make the things simple. And we have over the last 21 years developed so many innovative techniques like coding based on mnemonics, frameworking, classification, correlation, theories and its applications, formal and informal processes of politics to be linked. Then, besides the knowledge, information, facts, concepts, understanding, thinking, the most important stage is writing and practice. So, your modus operandi means the way of your study matters a lot. If you are just studying like novel, just focusing on reading only and thinking that my syllabus is being covered, or running behind notes and only not focusing on understanding, prototype understanding, not using scientific diagrams, figures, charts, which is not found normally in books. So your way of presentation should be different from the crowd, otherwise you'll be getting average marks. So because it's all about relative competition. So be it frameworking, classification, correlation, applications, visualization, and the best way for elaborating a topic is to first locate the time and space. At what time you're talking about, where it was, whether it's thinker, theory, ideology, any process, formal process, informal process. So once you locate in time, space, framework, then what, where, when, how, why, all these things, if you elaborate upon, then it will become easier to visualize, to contextualize. Like if you are discussing fascism, and if you go to the First World War, end of the First World War context and German humiliation, then it will be seen as natural consequence of that. You should not be artificially placing it, but you will be seeing it as natural cause and effect analysis, as natural consequence of it, as logical consequence of it. So that is what ensures your flow of study. That is, when you correlate the things across the board, then the things become interdisciplinary, the syllabus contracts and become easier. Initially, when it is segregated, then it appears vast. So once we cover the paper 1, we will go to paper 2. Paper 2's name is International Relation. I always advise students to study IR with world history. And this linkage is not for sake of only better understanding and visualization. This is also there in your GS syllabus. This is not out of syllabus. World history, if you are for example, if you are not knowing the chronology of developments like early modern nation state, after feudalistic decentralization, political unification, then balance of power system, all those English civil wars, glorious revolution, industrial revolution, French revolution, American revolution, Napoleonic wars, Vienna Congress, Chartist movement, you will not be able to contextualize the things. So my advice is always to link the international relation with the world history, and comparative politics is also section A is comparative politics. So comparative politics mainly consist of the developments after Second World War, although father of comparative politics is Aristotle. But as you know, after decolonization, large number of third world countries of Asia, Africa, they developed Western political model. So there was lots of things for comparison. This opened the floodgates of comparison. And here structural functional model is more applicable. So behavioralism that you study there, structural functional model, here Allman and Powell's model you have to study. Machiavelli you study in paper 1 as a realist thinker. Here again you have to study in system theory. So Morgenthau you have to study here. So then neorealism also you have to study, idealism, realism, neorealism, structural functional model, system model, cybernetic model, communication model, games theory. So theoretical part of international relations are very important. Then only you can apply it here and again here also in Indian context. So emergence of nation state, the national interest, the national power, balance of power, collective security, these theoretical things along with the theories of international relations, and fundamental difference between domestic political system and international political system. Why the questions are more asked from realism in second paper? Why power politics is more emphasized in second paper, although it is there also in first paper? Because the fundamental thing is behind that international political system is not a proper political system, not held by sovereign authority. UN is not a sovereign body, and sovereignty is the attribute of nation state, not the UN, and international laws are weak laws. So power is frequently used. So this is the fundamental difference. So there is no structural differentiation and functional specialization, and there is no division of work. In domestic political system, executive, legislature, judiciary, but here nation states are building blocks. They are similar in their needs but different in their capabilities and power. So this is the fundamental concept behind international relation, international politics. If you know those fundamentals, then it will be helping in correlations and finding its similarities and dissimilarities. So your platform of knowledge, what you have built, should be used to access and reach out the new things. Otherwise, the whole comprehensive things, if you try to retain, it will be very difficult. So art of correlation is the best way to learn new things by using the platform of old knowledge with similarities and dissimilarities. This is why I emphasize a lot on art of correlation. And political science, lots of things are interrelated and repeatedly mentioned. Here you have to study Cold War, you have to, I said whole world history to be linked. If you see century wise, 14th century, 15th century, it does not mean like world history, every detailing you have to do. Overall process you have to understand, and then it will be easier. And as you come closer to the present era, the detailings will increase. Like in 14th century, till First World War you come faster, but after First World War you become slower. After Second World War, further slower. After 1991, more detailing. In 21st century, again more detailing. So all these things are elements of continuity and changes. For example, you are directly studying India and world here and studying India's relationship with other countries. But you don't know about for example, you are studying Indo-US relationship. But you don't know about American Revolution and their core values of human rights, liberal democracy, separation of powers, checks and balances, republicanism, constitutionalism, federalism. Then at present you will not be able to comprehend the Indo-US relationship, because there are elements of continuity that is going on for so long. There are elements of changes which is covered through current. So current is important, applications are important based on the concepts that you have developed, based on understanding that you have, based on thinking and art of correlation. Once you correlate the things, for example, as I said, the things are being repeatedly mentioned. Here also NAM, here also NAM. SARC, regional organization, United Nations, IMF, World Bank, WTO, here also in Indian context. So in like paper 1, whatever theories you study in section A, you have to apply in IGP. Similarly, whatever theories you have studied here, you have to apply in India and world. So India and world is basically, for example, here you study foreign policy, determinants of foreign policy, national power, national interest. Here Indian national interest, Indian national power, Indian foreign policy, elements of continuity in Indian foreign policy during different prime ministers. So, and most importantly, the era in which we are living, hyperglobalization, postmodernism, the era in which we are living, you have to comprehensively do that. Certain areas you must have full command, and that will be also helping in developing ideas. So platform of knowledge, understanding, thinking, correlation, picturization, and above all our pedagogy. I will add that in our pedagogy it will not be academic approach like universities. We will be also using scientific tools, like if we are discussing Karl Marx, making graph of human history, 5 stages of human history: primitive history, feudal, master slave society, feudal society, capitalist society, communist society. So this is positive straight line. From maths also, you know, time is taken an independent variable on x-axis and mode of production here. So your such kind of presentation will not be only different from others, unique, but also scientific, and at the very onset examiner will be able to understand what you want to convey. Similarly, if you may compare with Hegel's dialectic, it is zigzag. It's not that every succeeding stage is more developed than preceding stage. In this way, by diagrams, charts, by even formulas, formulas are not the monopoly of science and maths. Like if Hobbes' individualism you will study, then we say that individualism is directly proportional to state absolutism. State absolutism is the means for individualism, but in Locke it is inversely proportional to state absolutism. So by this formula itself, in writing in very short, you in a very scientific manner, you are able to understand the concepts easily. So try to make more and more figures, diagram, all figures and diagrams you have not to make in actual exam. But once your understanding is based on scientific, more pictorial presentation, more graphs, more charts, more comparisons. If you are comparing two things, either they are totally different or they have some similarities, or one is subset of the other, or one is old and another is new, one is their geographical location and another is in another geographical location. So in this way, if you contrast the things, then definitely it will be helping in making the things very, very simple. And moreover, in pedagogy, also always remember that if your pole science and international relation is strong, your GS cannot be weak, because it covers lots of portion of general studies. This is one of the main reasons for its popularity. And this, be it second paper, polity, constitution, social justice and international relation, be it world history, Indian national movement of paper 1, be it of a political economy of paper 3, or be it ethics of paper 4 or essay paper, or even interview questions which are being asked. And this is very much evident even if you are listening Biden or Modi, your subject matter is being reinforced. You are seeing newspaper, or you are watching Rajya Sabha TV or general news also, or whatever you see in debates and discussions also. That will help you helping in our understanding. Then the approach for political science and international relation in 2020-22, as I said, this approach would be more comprehensive. It will cover each and every topic mentioned in the syllabus, so that you have confidence of completeness. Many times some students try to go for selective study at the very beginning by seeing the tips of the toppers. But let me tell you, intensive study is meant or is needed or desirable in last couple of months before the actual exam. But before that, comprehensive study gives you the confidence of completeness, that you are sure that whatever question would be asked, it is not beyond your striking range. This confidence itself is the big booster. Moreover, if you find any time that such question or is very difficult to decipher, and then you try to identify and link with the syllabus that is there in your mind and their chronology that is there in your mind, then it will be easier to pick. So picking a question is also very important, and in here you have to write one answer daily. Writing one answer of a question daily beside test series is not only helping you in retaining the things comprehensively, but one topic that you give time, you stay there, you concentrate there, you contemplate there. It helps in retention, your better understanding, and to cover the gray areas, to take corrective measures on the gray areas or the areas where information is lacking, knowledge is lacking, understanding is lacking, presentation is the problematic, language is problematic. What kind of problems? Different students have different kinds of problems, but we will follow this standard format and order and practice, along within that pedagogy scientific method, along with our accumulated experience and techniques that we have developed, innovative techniques will be at your disposal to make the things simple, graspable, retainable and producible. So that's it. I have discussed all the contours of PSIR 2022, and all the best for your exams, and we'll see that in detail in regular classes. Thank you.